All right, thank you very much, Abby. And obviously what I do want to see is more parrots in 20 years' time. That's definitely going to be a good thing. Actually, I wanted to start with just reading out how the UK defines resilience, which is the ability of countries, communities, and households to manage change by maintaining or transforming living standards in the face of shocks or stresses, but without compromising their long-term prospects. So that's very broad, but I think what I want to emphasize about that is that it covers that kind of individual, household level, up to communities and up to sort of sectors and overall countries, that it's not just one bit of that is going to make a climate resilient nation, and all of those parts need to work together. And I think sometimes it's sort of, it is the environment department or a climate department that feels that the responsibility is all theirs. But actually, it really does need to be across all sectors of society for sort of full resilience to be there. And for us, we look at 4 areas that help define resilience. So the first is around adapting to long-term change and doing this well in advance. And I think that is where Dominica is at the moment with this climate resilient nation vision, in terms of thinking about what kind of, well, it is the physical side, I'm going to say this now, the physical kind of infrastructure, if you like, that we know now needs to be put in place. So, for example, the UK is funding through PAHO health facilities so that they have better drainage, they have hurricane-proof roofing, they have hurricane wind shutters on the windows, etc., etc. So thinking ahead now, what will make those buildings structurally sound with the changing climate? So adapting is the first thing. Then the next one is anticipating, which is about reducing the impact of climate variability through forecasting and preparedness. And I think Dominica was particularly unlucky this time with Maria, given that the pace of the change of the strength of the hurricane was so quick. I think with Hurricane Irma, we all were there with our smartphones tracking it across the Caribbean, and people were able to sort of become more and more prepared as time went on. But it's sort of investing in those systems, which means that you have the information as soon as possible to prepare. So we've had adapting, we've had anticipating. The next A is absorbing, which is about absorbing the effects of climate extremes and disasters through an effective and rapid response that enables people to cope with disaster and recover quickly. And I think this is really key, actually, and again, perhaps unfortunately for Dominica, but there have been 4 natural disasters in Dominica in the last 10 years. And I think it's amazing, the vision to have a climate resilient nation, but that's also about being able to quickly respond when a disaster does strike, because unfortunately it will strike again. And it's impossible to be completely resilient to a Category 5 hurricane. I don't know, we're trying to look up in our office kind of what is the comparison with that and a kind of nuclear bomb or something. But, you know, the level of devastation is enormous. And I think if Richard Branson's Necker Island gets hit, and he's a multi-million billionaire, then you know, there will still be damage. So it's also around making sure that your Office of Disaster Management and SEDEMA and all. Should I again? Here we go. That all of those response mechanisms are also set up and prepared. And the last one is around responding and having some predictable financing in place. So again, DFID is actually looking at the scope and scale of insurance products, for example, mainly for governments and for public utilities like power and water, so that there's like the CRIF payment. CRIF works incredibly effectively and smoothly, but the payouts aren't big enough. and they don't cover enough sectors at the moment. So we're looking at trying to make sure that there's better kind of insurance coverage to be able to quickly respond with financing. I think the other bit you tasked me with, Avi, is around maybe the things that you can't see so much. And one of the clear results around resilience is that those that are the most vulnerable, the people that are the most vulnerable, are the ones that will fare the worst. And overall, reducing inequality will increase resilience. Now, that's a really hard thing to say or see, but those that, the poorest, you will have seen this in your own communities, the poorest are the ones that have the worst housing, that are stuck in the worst land, that's on the floodplain, have the least opportunities to get incomes, etc. So reducing inequalities and reducing the vulnerabilities of your people is less easy to see and to build, if you like, but will be really important for your future resilience.